My name is Ana Peláez Narváez. I am the Spanish candidate for the UN CEDAW committee. This is a real honor for me to have the chance to share with all of you why it is important this candidacy. Following the information provided by UN Women, every 5 women, one has a disability. This is a real huge population of women and girls who are really forgotten. Why? Because in general, when we look at the disability policies, there are no really consideration in relation with women and girls with disabilities. There are no consideration of gender perspective. But when we go to the policies on women in general, it's the same. There are no consideration in relation with the disability perspective in this regard. This is also why all this population, about 600 million of women and girls with disabilities, are really forgotten. And this is why this candidacy is really needed to ensure a twin-track approach in relation with this population. Until now, thanks to the Article 6 of the CRPD, it's true that little by little we are working all together, especially DPOs, but also organizations of women with disabilities. We are working together in relation to the full implementation of Article 6 of the CRPD. But it's also needed to have a twin-track approach and to have also this approach in relation with the CEDAW committee, the committee working in relation to guarantee the equality between women and girls in general. After 8 years working in the UN CRPD committee, working especially in gender issues and being also the focal point for Article 6 on women and girls with disabilities, I feel myself ready to contribute from the beginning for the CEDAW committee. In this regard, I can offer 5 priorities in my possible contributions to this committee. The first one is, of course, in relation with women and girls with disabilities, making sure that the approach of the CEDAW committee in this regard is a systematic approach about this huge population of women and girls with disabilities. I recognize the effort made by the CEDAW committee until now in relation to consider women and girls with disabilities in some of the recommendations given to the state parties. But I consider also fundamental to have a more systematic way to address the situation of women and girls with disabilities when the CEDAW committee is working with the different state parties, or, for example, when the CEDAW committee is working in the different general recommendations and other fundamental documents. My second possible contribution is in relation with how to combat multiple forms of discrimination, not just suffered by women and girls with disabilities, but also by other women who are also forgotten and invisible in the work of the CEDAW committee. My third possible contributions is to connect the CEDAW Convention with the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs. Is fundamental because when we are celebrate next year the 40th anniversary of the CEDAW Convention, I think it's needed to ensure the right implementation of this fundamental treaty in the different state parties, in all of them. And in this regard, having this roadmap in relation with the development for the future, why not to connect and to use the 2030 agenda to improve, of course, the implementation of the CEDAW Convention. My fourth possible contributions is in relation to adopt a more coherent approach among treaty bodies in relation with the state parties. Very often, the different treaty bodies are working in their own corner with their own agenda and with the different state parties. But as consequence of this isolation, as I can say, very often state parties receive contradictory recommendations in relation with the same topic, and is also needed to ensure the connection between treaty bodies in this regard to guarantee a more coherent and harmonic approach to the state parties. Finally, I consider really fundamental that the disability consideration, the disability dimension, is going to be part of the human diversity in the composition of the different treaty bodies. Because until now, when we are talking about people with disabilities, everything is always linking in general with the CRPD and with the CRPD committee. But I think it's needed also to guarantee that the disability is part of the human diversity dimension in global, in the United Nations system. And this is also why open the door to the disability in the CEDAW committee is fundamental. For more information, you can check and you can consult the website www.disabilityforcedaw.es, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions and perhaps your different opinions or reflections. Thank you very much for listening to me, and also thank you very much for supporting my candidacy.